Hello everyone and welcome to Club Extra here on Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Now that pre-season games are out the way and I hoped we'd have seen better performances, I'm not going to lie. I've been joined by Adam Thornton to discuss the pre-season and what tactical changes, if any, he has seen. Adam, it's been a while mate. I think it was I noted down the 13th of February since you were last on.
Oh, really?
It was that long ago. How have you been before we talk about Rangers? How's things?
I've been all right. Apart from Rangers, I would say that at that point it was the hope that kills you, wasn't it, for a
It
good 6
was.
weeks or so.
It was.
From then on, yeah, it probably ended the way that you thought it would, I guess, or that with the injuries and things just taking their toll. I think that final round of injuries with Cortez, Ridvan, Sima again just sort of flowed it. So I've been trying not to think about it for a bit, but I suppose I better get back into it now. So I've kept an eye on pre-season. I've not watched everything to the nth degree, because it looks like it's been pretty rubbish to be honest. So I've kept an eye on it, but it's time to get back into it. And if you can't be positive 2 days before the season starts, you're never going to be positive. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you've got it. That's the thing, mate. Now that it's all kind of said and done, and if it has had its up and downs, you do have to. You do have to look forward to it, no matter what. You still have to look forward to it. It's going to be a different season, no matter what, considering we're going to be bloody hammed in. So, I mean, even at
Aye.
that, you're looking at a completely different season than you would usually have. But yeah, I flicked back to when we were last on, and we were we were rather chipper about some things, and I was going, God, if you only knew.
I
Hindsight's a
know.
wonderful thing, I know that, but it's when you do podcasts like that, and you do start to believe, and you do start to hope, and it's the bit that absolutely kills you.
Yeah.
Before we get into talk about pre-season as a whole, mate, obviously just before we started recording there, Rangers have signed Robin Proper, whatever, but we'll get told at some point how to say it, from FC20. Obviously, it looks like a direct replacement to Connor Goldson. And for me, mate, it's a perfect bit of business. Interested to hear your thoughts on it. I think it makes sense. It's the experience I think that we were all kind of crying out for, and hopefully someone to lead that back line.
Yeah, it does make sense. If I was I was going to say if I was being picky, I'd like somebody a bit younger, but I probably wouldn't. I would like maybe someone else to leave and bring in somebody a bit younger. I think would be the best way to say that, because Proper at 30, he has played a decent chunk of football, but I've seen something today where he's made like 350 appearances in his career, so over 12 years or so. But Connor Goldson over the last 6 years has played like 320 games for Rangers. So in that sense, he's maybe not got as many recent miles on the clock, which might not have as big an impact there. So I think it's a good one. I wasn't expecting a 30-year-old centre half to come in, and I certainly wasn't expecting us to spend decent money. We're still not 100% what it is, but if it's 2.5 million quid, then that's decent money for somebody of that age. So what you're hoping there is that's a guy that comes in for 2 or 3 years, gives you that leadership right away, is that calming influence in there that can bring through Nsiala on that side, maybe bring through, depending where he plays, maybe bring through Jeff Day on that side, and be a bit of a sounding board on the other side as well. Somebody that can just sort of show it up in the way that Goldson was okay at and good at, but for me, Goldson really thrived when he had a Helander type partner in there. He was never really the guy that would take it by the scruff of the neck and go and do things. If Proper can come in and do that, then that 2.5 million quid would be money well spent. In terms of player, I'm always really wary with players coming from Holland, because although it's a very highly thought of league and stuff, it is a wee bit weird. Like they don't defend very well. It's all kind of it's lackadaisical. We've seen, remember years back, the guy that went to Middlesbrough, he'd scored a bucket load and was it Heerenveen, Alves, and he scored a bucket load and just couldn't replicate it. You see that a lot. It's a more competitive league, I think, and it's easier to score goals, and the defenders, I think, can look better there than they might be. But that being said, they all seem pretty gutted that he's going. From that side, they are a pretty big team now. They're not threatening the top 3 big teams, but they finished third, and they've been in Europe for a couple of years now. So he's playing at the top end of that league. And yeah, I guess we'll see. What it's like. But him coming in and saying he's going to do this and he's going to do that, I'm just a wee bit wary because of that style of play that they have in Holland. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Sam Lammers is probably the perfect example of what you just said, mate. To be honest,
Aye,
because
no, that's true. That's true. It is. That is. And that was the thing as well. When he went away for that 6 months or so, and he's banging in the goals, I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter because he's never going to be a Rangers striker. If he'd went and scored 30 goals there in 6 months, still, no, I don't think for me, because it just there's nothing in the post there. There was no, oh, play him as a number 9 at Rangers. No, he missed like 3 open goals. Doesn't matter if he's a number 9 or number 10. He missed 3 open goals. Like, it's a no go. So it just doesn't suit some players.
No, definitely not. And I was very happy to see him leave. I do wonder though, looking at it, obviously I'm realistic enough to know that transfers don't just happen overnight and these things take time. Whether the delay in Lammers leaving and the kind of, not the delay in Goldson leaving, but that whether there was a deal trying to be worked out for a swap in some sort of form of money or whatever it may have been. As you say, you're right, you're hearing everything from like $1 million to $2.5 million for proper, so we don't know for sure, but he's going to be on less wages than Goldson. You would expect him to be on less wages than Goldson anyway, and I suppose that's the best bit about it, because Goldson was taking up a sizable chunk, and it's no disrespect to Goldson. I just firmly believe that he's not going to get any better anymore, and he probably won't have an Indian summer for this season, and along with Tavernier as well. That they two are kind of falling into the same bracket as me. I know you're a proper Tav fan, right? And I know you are, so I can't not ask you. The speculation surrounding him, obviously, it seems to have died down a little bit. The easy link getting made to Saudi and Gerrard has been over and over and round and round. Are you in,
Yep.
you in the same boat as what I would be? Is that I've got no disrespect to Tavernier, I really don't. I think he'll be sorely missed when he does go, and I think it's because he has underachieved in terms of trophies. It blurs just how good he's been for the club at times with fans, and I'm like, where would we have been without him? But for this season, if he stays, I don't think he can be a guaranteed starter.
No, and to be honest, if you take away players' names, take away club, take away all that sort of stuff, a right back or any player who's going to be 33 in a couple of months, who has, I don't know what he's at now, 450 appearances for Rangers in the last 8-9 seasons. He's not going to go forever. Like, especially when it's someone who relies quite a bit on their physicality and getting up and down the park, etc. It's just not going to happen. Not proper football clubs start to do that, and they start to rotate them out. If it's somebody that they really, really like and they want to keep there, then you're the club captain, but you get rotated out. Somebody that can come in and share your minutes, play the early rounds of the cup, but even more than that, play like home games against the bottom 6, for example. Get them in, get them minutes, and then you keep them fresh for bigger games. Now, it seems like that's just not something that we would ever think as Rangers fans that we do. It's the same when we send a player out on loan. It's basically, you're out on loan, therefore you are absolutely rubbish and you're never coming back. Rather than it being a development thing, we don't really seem to deal with things like that. It's also black and white. Either you're amazing, or if you're slightly less than amazing, you're now just absolutely rubbish, and there's no grey area. So for me, the big thing has always been over reliance. Way back to Tavernier, Morelos, the over reliance there. Ping a ball up to Alfie, see what he can do. If we're in trouble, Tavernier will do it. Players have probably, it's only natural, players have probably relied on that at points. We'll say I'll give it to him and he'll try and do something. So the biggest thing for Tav and Goldson, the biggest thing for me is we've not properly supported them with recruitment round about them. We've not. It's not even that we've got into a position that we've made their positions under threat. We've not got into a position where the people next to them have been under threat to get a proper support network. And you could include a couple of other players in that as well. We've not given them a fair crack of the whip because we've either set ourselves up wrongly, we've put them under too much pressure, we've played them too much. So miles on the clock is a big thing. For me, if you were to say, I'm a big advocate of change. I know people probably get scared of it. Like in everyday life, people will probably get scared of it, and people just want things to stay the same. I'm a big. Well, it might be good. It might be when you have a player who is relied upon or is there all the time and is so important, and then they leave. It's very rare that it goes badly for that club. You think like when big players leave, and you then we've seen it in the past, like Suarez leaving or Harry Kane leaving, and then they spend that money and the things just change and the dynamic shifts. I remember when Moles left, and I was like, "What are we going to do? Like, how do you how do you deal with this? Or when McCoy's left and you bring in like Wallace comes in, you think things just change. Like you're supposed to adapt. You bring in complementary players that can do things. So I think that would be the thing for me. I've said for a while, felt like we're way too reliant on crosses into the box from Tavernier and Barisic. It becomes a crutch in those moments when you're struggling. We'll just give them the ball and they'll shell into the box. We need to be braver. We need to have a proper structure. We need attacking players who can pick up the slack. We need midfielders who can contribute, midfielders who can get goals. That overall will be a net positive, and then it shouldn't really matter who plays it right back in theory. So, yeah, I'm a big advocate of change. If we were to get an offer, 32, 33-year-old player on 2 million a year or whatever it is, if you're getting a 3 million quid offer for me, yeah, go. You can't say no to that. And then you replace and you bring in somebody else who's younger and you go again, because that's what proper football clubs should be doing.
Absolutely. Do you think Sterling's ready for that? Do you think Sterling's the one to easily step in? We've seen him at every position bar right back and goalkeeper. He's played everywhere else in the squad pretty much. Do you think Sterling is? Look, there's loads of chat about him, and for one, I like him. I do. I think there's a lot more to come from him. I think he needs developed as a player. I've said to I can't remember what was my previous podcast I've done with one of the boys. I said that even Barron's people are shouting about Barron, about how good he's been, and Sterling for me has just shown work rate, commitment, and kind of pride in his own performances that we seem to have kind of lacked over the previous years. Probably has come in, good work rate. Don't think he's the ready-made article. No such thing, but with Sterling, if there's such a clamour about him, and people are calling him for a captain, all that, you know what Rangers Twitter's like, but you know what I mean, like people calling to be captain. Do you think Sterling is the right mould to come in to just replace James Tavernier? It's going to take, as you mentioned, mate, it would take a lot of, it would take new dynamics on, because they're not the same player.
No. So I pretty much agree with everything you've said, and it's a strange thing that you almost can't criticise him because he's I don't know how that works with people, because you show a bit of passion and determination, people amp you up, and they overhype you. Now I think he's good. Like you said, he's got some great qualities. For me, I would like to see one of the fullbacks being a bit more defensive. On the other side, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Jeffy looks like he's not going to be defensive at all.
I agree.
Ridvan, I think, probably has a bit of both. I like how aggressive Ridvan is when he's defending, but he is still better going forward. So I would like to see a more secure defensive first fullback in there who just tucks in on a three, will just take his man, is comfortable defending out wide, all that sort of stuff. So that would be fine for me. What I absolutely wouldn't want us to do is put Sterling in there and then try and make him play like Tavernier, because he's not that guy. He is not the guy who's going to do 1-2s up and down the pitch, cross the ball into the box. Technically, he's not great. On the ball, he has good moments, but you're right, it's more about the tackling and the determination, which is all great stuff, and it's stuff that we really, really need. So for me, if he's playing as a defensive right back, I would be cool with that. I would also like to see him in the middle at points, because I think that ability that you've mentioned there, winning the ball back, being aggressive, getting mobile, covering the pitch, are all things that would be great as well. So I would be happy with that. If Tavernier goes, I would probably still want us to bring in a younger player than Sterling, we talk about him being young, he's 25, so he's absolutely not. He's inexperienced, maybe, in terms of where he should be for a player of that age, because he was in Chelsea, but he's not young. So I'd like to see us bringing in somebody behind him again to develop somebody with high potential at right back. If Tavernier was to go, that would be something that would be quite good. So yeah, I wouldn't lose sleep if he was the right back, to be honest. But again, that's provided we don't do that role and get him up and down the pitch, because he can't do it. But then also it's a jigsaw puzzle. Then the onus is on the midfielders and the wingers to then go and give us goals and assists, because he's not going to do it. There's a gap there because the right back now is doing that. So yeah, it's all about a jigsaw, I guess. But overall, I like Sterling. I think he does get massively overhyped because we like that passion and grit and determination thing. But I do still think he's very, very good option to have in both those positions.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Ali when we were on the pod, and I was like, I'm not being overcritical of people praising players for being hardworking, but it kind of says a lot about where we are as a football team and a football squad just now, about a team that we are praising players that work hard.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be the case. It should be a fundamental start of being a Rangers player that you work hard and you work hard for 90 minutes. You don't ever take the foot off the gas, and it does kind of highlight to me just the sheer lack of quality. Really, I'm in agreement with Sterling. I think he could do a job as a six and just break up every sort of attack and just be there and let the boys in front of him go and do what they need to do. Anything that comes his way, I'll deal with it. He can cover a lot of ground, but I agree we should not be trying to mould him into a James Tavernier, because he'll fail. To my opinion, he'll fail. He is not that player. Do you think maybe the signing of Tierney is possibly a look to get the stats that James Tavernier might not be getting anymore, and it will provide much more attacking options on that right hand side for us, I think, and plus it'll let Sterling just be that defensive guy if it is to be Sterling that's the first choice going forward. But Tierney for me is a signing that I thought, I can actually see what you're doing here. I've kind of done this pod back to front, but it's okay, we'll just run with it, mate. I wasn't intending on starting here, but we'll just run with the signings.
That's fine. Yeah, I could do. By all accounts, Tierney, I'm not going to pronounce his first name because I probably can't, but Tierney seems to be pretty quick, seems to be comfortable going on the outside, but probably more comfortable cutting in on his left and scoring. I've wanted a right-sided left-footed right winger for quite a long time.
You got there, mate. You got there.
Eventually, back a couple of years ago, we were interested in Skov Olsen before he went to Bruges, and he was one of we need goal scorers, and we need more goals, whether it's creating goals or scoring goals from that front three or front four. Absolutely. What Sima was on track to get should kind of be the standard for a couple of players up there that are supporting the number 9. So if he can do that, great. I've not watched enough of him to know what his relationship is with like a fullback or even midfielders there. What I would say is if he is that type of guy that's kind of cutting inside and stuff, then you probably do want your fullback to be going on overlap as well sometimes, or maybe one of your midfielders, which we don't do enough of going beyond on that side, like Arfield used to do beyond and try and get cutbacks in. So there's a bit of a jigsaw there that I'm not really sure. I don't think Barron is that guy as well, but there's the whole debate about the number 10 or making it another central midfielder. Whoever that guy is needs to be someone that can go and score goals and get beyond and 1-2s, etc. in the box. So how that jigsaw puzzle works, I'm not sure, but yeah, somebody with a bit of pace wide right that can cut in and score a goal on his left foot, I'm all in for if that's what he ends up being.
In terms of what you were talking about there about our midfielders doing overlaps, etc., and I know from talking to you and from seeing you putting stuff you put on social media as well that the possibility of flat 3 instead of a kind of probably 2 8s and a 6 more, or a kind of, is it a hybrid 8s you call it? Is it a hybrid 8? See, I'm trying to use tactics words here, mate. Is that what you call it? But I think what's been quite evident and clear to me in pre-season is, even though it's not been the greatest because it hasn't, it's been a tough watch, it really has been a slog, but Diomande looks like he's getting forward a lot more, and I don't know if that's deliberate, or I don't know if that's he's been told to do this, or if he's trying to prove a point. But some of the pass he paid through for Dessers' first goal, I think it was Berlin, but what a great pass. Dessers does exactly what you expect your striker to do, but that's something that Clement's looking at. Clement's looking at, well, maybe if I get a proper holding midfielder, I'll just let my 2 8s do the work, and that would probably lead to be able to do the overlaps as well that you were speaking about on your wingers.
Yeah. So I guess there's 2 options then, but just on that Dessers point, I think you're spot on, and that's something we've missed. We focus in on the chances that Dessers misses, or the chances that Lammers missed, or the chances that Danilo missed, and some of them have been absolute sitters that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who's passed the ball or anything like that. But there's probably many more of them that have been just rubbish balls in, and they've had to adjust, and they've had a split second and they've not really done it. Diomande putting that on a plate, that doesn't happen to us anywhere near as much as it should, and it's just you're almost just forcing the striker to do the simple thing, because you're not giving him the ball with 2 men in front of him and he's having to chop in, or it's not a cross into the box and he's having to react in between players. It's just literally a pass, perfect weight in the pass, to his strong foot. He takes a touch and he goes in and scores. So there's 2 sides to that, and I think that's something that we've missed. It's something that Cantwell did a little bit wasn't great at. It's something that Diomande did at his previous club. I've seen happening a fair bit. He was the guy that was making that pass before the shot. So it's great to see that coming in again for him. And if that is something that we can do, then great. On that midfield, then I guess the option is we just go with what we have just now, which would be Barron and Diomande sitting deeper, and then a 10, which has been Lawrence. I think, hasn't it really? I'm not big on that. I think Lawrence has use, but I don't think it's as a first pick number 10. I
I
think
don't think
coming
he's a
off the
starter
bench,
either. Aye.
coming off, maybe he's only got a year left in his contract. I don't know. What we would. I would if someone came and said basically take him and we'll take over his wages. I'd be like, yeah, fine, go for it, because I think we could probably get someone else in that could do more. But if he is here, I wouldn't be too devastated, because he will pop up. He will pop up with some goals. He's not mobile. He's not technically brilliant, but bring him on in a game, maybe he might do something there. But no, not as a starter. What I would do is maybe is kind of what you said. I would go and get a number 6 in, and I would play Baron or Raskin next to him as more of a kind of shuttler, if you like that number 8 that you mentioned there. And then I put Diamande as the furthest forward, whether that's an 8, whether it's a 10. Maybe not as far forward as, say, Cantwell, Lawrence, etc. been, but I'd put him in there just because of the way that he can hold the ball. He's got a good
Yeah.
shot on him. He can hold the ball. He's physical. He's not built like muscly or whatever, but he's physical. He can hold off challenges. And he's got that eye for a pass in there as well. So I would like to see him as the furthest forward. I think that would give us a bit more calmness and quality and assurance in the final third, really, or certainly the area just before it. So I would be up for that. I don't think his strength is sitting deeper, getting the ball off the centre halves and then sort of trying to build through. I'm not sure he's that guy. I think he's more a little bit forward than that. So that would, if I was hand on heart, that's what I'd do. Go get a proper defensive midfielder. If that was Joan Jordan that was coming in, I don't know much about him. A little bit wary. There was obviously loads of red flags, but something like that, somebody who's just a proper number 6 who can also get about the pitch and be a wee bit physical as well, and then let the midfielders that we've got go and do what I think they're probably best at. So that would be my preference. If not, then we need to get a number 10 in who's mobile, who's physical, who's mobile, who can get beyond and who can score goals. That would be the preference. So nothing just now I don't think fits 100% on that. Depending on how he wants to go, one of those two options would be good, I think. But we badly need a central midfielder to come in, I think, definitely.
Yeah, I still think we're short. As we spoke about, I would be getting Davies off the books as quickly as we could, because I don't think he's good enough, and it's no harm to the guy, but he would do okay against the kind of lower leagues in the team, and I hate saying that, but it's the way it is, the lower teams in the league. But that's not what we need right now, because we've got players that can do that. You've got Enciala there that can be able, who's probably going to be able to do that. You've got Suter that's there, and I don't think Suter is an out and out starter. I've got nothing really against Suter either, because I believe that he's decent. He's a bit siege sometimes, and he gets caught under the ball far too many times. He really does. But I would like to see another investment in the centre half and the midfield. Midfield, absolutely zero doubt, mate. I'm saying we need someone to be able to anchor the two midfield, to be able to free up the boys in front of them. Yep. I'll move on to the front line now. Iganami, we don't know anything about him. Do you know anything about him before he signed? I don't know. I mean,
I do. I did a scout report. I did a scout report on him on the Rangers Review.
Right.
So he looks interesting. He looks quite raw, quite pacey, comfortable on both feet. He can play in behind. He can come deep. He looked good. Obviously it's Morocco, but they were the champions last year. He did really well in the under-23 African nations. I think he got injured in the semi-final and he missed the final, but they won it, and he played quite well. So he's got experience, but I think obviously we don't know where he is. We don't know if he's been training or not, which is a little bit weird, I guess, in itself. So I can see some of the qualities that he potentially might bring. He does seem quite raw. The manager said himself anyway, even if he was fit, which we're not sure about, he's going to take a few months to integrate in as well. So there's a bit of a question mark there for me, and it's similar to when Ridvan came in. Like, yes, he can see what that player might try to do. But Ridvan came in and was like physically weak, couldn't speak a word of English, had to acclimatise, didn't really know what he was doing tactically, running about like a dog chasing a ball, and you're spending 3 million up to 5 million on somebody who wasn't. I don't even think he played regularly until the end of October, and then obviously done his hamstring, and that was him basically done for
Yeah,
the season. So it's like, is that the best use of those funds? And it's maybe the same with Agamani, especially how it's transpired now, spending almost 2 million quid on somebody who might still be injured as he was at the end of last season. But we're all saying, or the manager himself is saying, he needs to acclimatise, he needs months and months. It's not that difficult, I don't think. Is he the highest potential player for that amount of money that you could have got? And we've went, right, we need to get him 100%, even if it takes us a while. Or are there another 10 or 15 similar to him who have played in Europe before, aren't injured, can come in and can acclimatise? So that one there is a bit of a doubt for me. He could go on to be a good player, but we needed somebody in now, and we needed
yeah,
somebody in to play pre-season. The manager has spoken at length all borders for the last 6 months about how important his pre-season is and how it was all terrible before his pre-season. We'll sort all this out, sort all that out. We needed these guys in. And I know it's unrealistic because the Euros and a slow market and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't mean we didn't need them in. Unfortunately, we still needed them in. So
exactly.
it's catch up. It's a risky game, out with our control. We had to sell before we can buy. I get all of that, but it doesn't reduce the risk that we needed these guys in, and the guys that we got in, we needed them to be ready to go for Saturday, and he is not. So for me, yes, I think he does look talented, and I can see the potential there, but £2 million right now that could have been better spent on a central midfielder or going towards Morgan Whittaker, Abdallah Sima, however that's going to transpire, might have been a better use of funds as things stand just now, because those players would have been available to start on Saturday. So yeah, he's a wee bit up in the air, but definitely seems to have a bit of potential. And if we can get out of him eventually, hopefully before Christmas, who knows where he is, but then that would be good. But yeah, a bit of a strange one so far, that one.
Yeah, to me, I agree. I think if he was coming here with any sort of doubt and he was the identified target for us to bring in for that front line, and what, why is he going to take months? Do you know what I mean? Why is that the case? I can't say anything that I can't say that I disagree with anything that you said. We've had to watch Dessers all of pre-season again. That shouldn't be happening. Do you know what I mean? We shouldn't be in this position where it is Dessers. It will be Dessers on Saturday. There is zero doubt that it will be him. And it's a bizarre situation that Hearts find ourselves in. Mistakes happen, and look, don't get me wrong, but I agree, for the money that we did spend, there surely there was another option if it wasn't 100% for him. In terms of Danilo, a lot of people, he's fallen victim very quickly to this. He's been injured for ages, and he's absolutely superb thing that we can't wait to get him back, and he's going to be the answer. I'm not going to say I don't have my reservations, because I remember the chances that he was missing as well. Again, your argument of what you said, maybe the quality of balls that he was getting that didn't suit him or anything, but are you
He missed a fair
confident?
few as well, yeah.
Yeah, he did miss a good few. Was it the ones that was it Dundee or Ross County? I can't remember. One of the games, I was like, wow, I was like, that's
The one
shockingly
away
bad.
to the one away to Servette as well.
Oh,
Cifuentes
yeah,
Cifuentes put the best and only ball of his life in Danilo. Aye, that wasn't great.
that wasn't great.
I really like Danilo. I thought he was really sharp. Pre-injury, I remember being baffled that we didn't play him in that run of games. Was it the PSV and Celtic games? He never got a sniff,
Mhm.
considering he was coming in with that amount of money. I don't know, integration into the country. I'm not sure. No, Dessers had been in a few weeks before. Um, that was all a bit strange. But then he was Clement's number one guy for that period where Clement came in before he got injured. He was playing, he was scoring goals. His goals to games or goals to minutes was the best in the league, I'm sure. Obviously it's very limited. But it was
Yeah,
the best in the league. So he was getting goals. I think he got 6 goals and 4 or 5 assists. In I don't know how many games it was, 15 or something. So that's still decent. For me, I don't know. I don't know. Would he
is he
play?
the number 9? Yeah, is he the number
Yeah, that's what
9?
I'm
Is
thinking.
he the answer?
Is he the number 9? He does have a bit more, I think. outside the box to his game than Dessers. So is there a thought there with the manager? Danilo might sit a little bit deeper, maybe as a 10 at points, and a new number 9, hopefully. If that's the case, a new number 9 comes in to do that, or will he just be a wee bit more fluid and interchange? I liked him. I thought you could tell that his movement and his game intelligence and all that sort of stuff was very sharp. He's been very, very unlucky with those injuries, and the injury that he's had sounds mega complicated. He does look quite a few yards off of it, so it's difficult to tell. You could be probably thinking end of August before he's even back into the proper rhythm. So that's a little bit of a risk, but as one of 2 strikers to rely on, I wouldn't be devastated if it was him, because I do think he's got something there, despite missing sitters as well. But everybody misses sitters. I like his personality as well, and that's probably a thing with Dessers too. Doesn't really seem like it bothers them. Like they'll miss sitters and they'll laugh it off and just get on with it again. In Dessers' case, he probably probably needs to think about it more than he does, because he just seems to go back again and do the same thing again and again. But
Yeah.
Danilo, his demeanour when he talked to him in press conferences and stuff, he just seems generally quite confident, happy without being arrogant. So I do like him. I thought he was good to very good in some moments that he had last season. And if he can get back to that and get a proper run, and hopefully the injuries are not going to impact him too much, then I'm more than happy to have him around for a year, for the rest of the season. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not ready to completely write him off as of yet, but I do. My concern is how fit's he going to be, and is he going to be anywhere near what we thought he was going to be as well? But again, it's football. He gets a horrific injury. It really is so unlucky
Yeah.
to get that kind of injury, as well as a battered eye as well. I forgot about that. He get
No.
absolutely done in as well with that. So no, but I'm the same. I still think we could be doing with a striker, especially. We don't know when we're going to see Iganami at all. Is it Iganami? Iganam? How am I to say it?
I don't know actually. Egamani, I think. Egamani.
Igamani. But I think the only position we've not spoke about, mate, apart from the goalkeeping position, which is Jack Butland. I don't need you to say anything to that. It will be Butland going forward. The left hand side, happy with Cortez, mate. It looks like he'll be the one that takes the jersey on that left hand side. Understudy Matondo. I mean, that's probably your lot on that left hand side.
Hmm. Uh, not no for Matondo for me. I just don't. It's just not my cup of tea.
Same.
Cup.
You don't eat like people that watch this pod will know me. I can't stand. He's just not for me at all.
I mean, just so one dimensional. There's no doubt in his mind what he's going to do every single
Yeah.
time. It's came off a few times. Fair enough. People get wise to it. Yeah, not for me. Not for the money invested in him, the wages that he's allegedly on, and the injuries as well. To be honest, he's never fit either. So, no, he'd be one that I would be comfortable if we could move on. Cortez is very young, and I think we forget that he's 20. He's
Mm-hmm.
20. We're talking about Enciala coming in, and I know he might need this and he might need that. He's a couple of years older than him uh, as well, and we're saying he might need a bit of time. Cortez is very young. I liked a lot of things that he did in those 5 or 6 games, but it was only 5 or 6 games as well. We're so quick to judge and say, "Oh, he was great," and when he went out, our season got obliterated. I don't know if that's as simple as that. Like it was all hinging on a 20-year-old who had played 6 games. I'm not 100% on that, so I do like him. I think he's got qualities in there, but I probably want another wide player coming in. One that can
Seema?
play both sides. Yeah. Um, hand on heart, if it was Seema or Morgan Whittaker, I'd probably be going Seema, just because he can be a 9 as well. If you want him to be, he can play off that left hand side, he can play off the right hand side. Cortez can do all of those as well. Gives you quite a lot of flexibility. I'm not mad on Morgan Whittaker, and I think it's a how do you describe it? Like a style or a culture shock thing. I think I said the other day about centre halves coming in. You need centre halves coming into Rangers who are used to being on the ball and are used to having 70 or 80 passes. It's absolutely useless if you bring in somebody who has spent his whole career heading balls out the box and kicking and not getting any passes at all, because the opposition will block off your passing lanes and you'll be expected to bring the ball out and play out. if you can, long range passing, short range passing. So we need to then recruit people who are used to doing that. That just makes sense to me. We don't want to recruit somebody who can't kick the ball, because we need the players to kick the ball. We've seen Mikatic, it became a bit of a hindrance, and teams would just prey on it constantly because he couldn't pass the ball. We played him on his wrong side, and there was a few situations, more than a few situations, where it got us into trouble. So I think the same thing with Whitaker, to be honest. And obviously everybody can adapt, but Plymouth nearly got relegated, and he was the second best winger in the Championship, absolutely. But a team who are one of the worst teams in their league aren't going to see a lot of the ball. They're going to be breaking on counters all the time. There's going to be balls over the top for him to go and run at. That's not for us. That's a no-go. Can you break a defence down? Have you ever played against a 10-man defence?
Yeah.
The mentality needed to play for a team at the top of your league. I know he's bounced about a couple of teams that maybe have had that, Russell Martin teams that maybe have had some of that stuff, so maybe it's a little bit unfair, but I just think if we were to compare the two of them strictly on the field, and if the fees were similar, if we could even afford the fees, nobody knows. I think Sima would be the one for me. The only concern with Sima is the injury issues that he's had, not just at Rangers but before as well. He does seem to get quite a few niggling injuries in as well, so that would be a concern. But I think, yeah, if I was pushed, it would be Sima, for me, out of the two, and then you're able to give Cortez a bit more, like you would do with any, again, to go back to what normal clubs do. A 20-year-old coming in, give him time, give him 6 months, give him minutes, 100, give him loads and loads of minutes, coming on as a sub, playing every other game, etc. But just firing him out in that left wing and saying, right, on you go, you're the man. It's a lot, regardless of the fee, regardless of how good he's been. We need to give players a chance, and that goes back to the point about Tavin Goldson. You need to give them a chance. You can't just bring in a player and go, right, you're playing, on you go, do it all for us. You need to build a structure around them. You need to give them a hand. So for me, I really need to see a central midfielder come in who is comfortably in the conversation as the best central midfielder in the country, and I probably need another wider player coming in who is that as well. And then, yeah, to your point, if you're then pushing me, what's the minimum to do? The minimum would be get money for Davies and Dessers and replace them as well. That 4 pieces of business for me, I think, would make me feel a hell of a lot better about things as it stands. Whether that's realistic, whether we do it with some loans as well, I'm kind of comfortable with that. I don't mind, but I think we need at least 3, probably 4 signings to come in of a sufficient quality that we're going to go, yeah, okay, we're going now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, look, we might be sitting having a different conversation in a month's time, mate, depending on how this window ends. I think the signing a proper does make you not sit up and take notice, but you go, right, that's probably the first one that we've all been asking for that's actually happened. So you need to hope that the rest are going to follow suit. Always a quick 40 odd minutes, mate, when it's me and you sitting having a chat. It really is. Just quickly before I let you go, Naismith's came out and said that there's been no contact from Rangers about Shankland. I'm not surprised by that. To be honest, I don't think it's ever been a go from the get-go. I have been slated in many a group chat, mate, for saying that I don't think Rangers should be going for him anyway. Your opinion, as should Lauren Shankland be a Rangers player?
Only if it's a swap, not a swap for Dessers, as in Dessers going to Hearts, but only if it's Dessers leaving, Shankland coming in. Much lower wages, not much lower wages, but lower wages. You would think, you would hope the money you get for Dessers, the money we should be given for Shankland. And by the way, this is all based on I wouldn't pay any more than £1.5, £2 million for somebody of that age who's coming out of contract.
Yeah.
So that's based on that, which might be pie in the sky anyway. I'm sure if you've got any Hearts fans, there'll be slaughters in the comments if anybody's watching as a preview before the game on Saturday. But that's the fact. You again, take away the players, take away the context. Somebody who has 2 very good goal scoring years at a much smaller club than Rangers, so there's a different environment piece there as well. Who's going to be 29 and his contract's up next year. £1.5, £2 million for me is absolutely fair. Whether Hearts need to sell at that, whether they want to sell at that, whether he's more valuable, doesn't matter a jot to Rangers. I couldn't care less about any of that. That's the fee for me. We get Dessers out for a bit more than that. We save on the wages, bring him in, great. We're able to bring in quality that helps him, because You hear a lot about Shankland's build-up play and all that sort of stuff. I'm not convinced. I don't see what other people see there in terms of dropping deep and doing this and doing that. I see someone who can't run. As I don't think he's as quick as Dessers even. I don't think he's as mobile. Sorry, he can run, but I don't think he's as mobile. But then what I do see is you pop him into certain situations that Dessers has been in, and he'll probably score more goals in there. So he might not get himself into the same positions as Dessers does, because Dessers is quite, I want to say all action, because he's absolutely not all action. I don't know what the opposite of that is, but you know what I mean. He gets in there and gets in about it, and things happen. His movement can be quite good. Maybe Shankland has that as well, but then I think it's one of those things. I always used to say about Kamar Roof: if you parachuted just before the striker hits the ball, and you could parachute somebody else in to kick the ball, you'd want it to be Kamar Roof. He probably couldn't get there because he'd do a hamstring or something, but if you could just parachute him in, and that would be the same with Shankland for me, in those isolated moments, that would be it. The one thing I guess on it, I'm probably more aligned to you on it, but this whole thing about, oh, he knows the league and he'll just come in and guaranteed 30 goals, no doubt. How? Like, if that was the case, every player that we signed from a Scottish club would have been an absolute unprecedented success. And this Felicia would come in and scored 50 goals. Like, I don't buy that. You know the league. You're just because you live 20 miles away, it doesn't make a difference. It's a completely different environment, completely different pressure. You don't see as much of the ball. You try to break teams down. All of that still applies whether you come from Tynecastle or anywhere else. Like it still needs to be an acclimatization period. So I don't see it as a sure thing at all. I don't see it 100% guaranteed. But if we were to say £1.5, £2 million and Dessers is going out, it wouldn't be terrible. It wouldn't be my pick. I would like somebody like a Romani or one of those guys to come in as well. Somebody who's a bit more of a mobile, modern centre forward type. That would be my preference. But who knows? Who knows? I wouldn't be devastated if Shankland came in for that price, which might be ridiculous.
I said I'm the same. If the money's right, fine, fair enough. I think he will score goals for us. And people always say, I scored against them and he scored against us. Aye, but we don't sit in. Like, us or Celtic don't sit
and also,
in.
we're rubbish.
We are, we're crap, yes. We're not very good. So, but that's what I mean. And it's like, I can get the argument, he's a blue nose. Yeah, I get it all. But I'm like, I still think we could do better. And I always think, just signing him because he's better than Dessers doesn't automatically mean that he's going to score his 30 goals, and that's my overriding kind of opinion on it all.
Yeah, I don't love that. He's better than what we've got. He's better than what we've got, but everybody wants to set fire to the whole squad that we've got just now. So that's not really a barometer. I think we need to aim higher than that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Adam, as always, mate, always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
No worries. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to go because I can see my face getting redder and redder with how hot it is in this room. So I'm going to go.
Mate, I am roasting, absolutely roasting.
But no,
it's a tiny little room. This.
Pleasure to be on. Hopefully, we'll go on soon again.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And all the best for tomorrow night, mate, at the live show at Edmund's house. I hope it's an absolute cracker, mate. I hope Heart and Hand have a good one. So I would be there, mate, but as I told you before I come on there, there's reasons why I can't be. Everybody will find that out soon, mate, so don't worry about it. But no, it's always a pleasure to have you on, mate. Very much looking forward to the start of the season and getting you back on. We'll be back tomorrow night with Club Live as we properly look forward to the game against Hearts on Saturday. Remember, head over to our Patreon, get signed up and follow the season with us over there. As I say, you'll get all your usual content over there, plus much, much more. But your Club Live pod will always be free on a Friday, and we will see you there tomorrow night. Thanks again to Adam for joining me. We are Club at 22, the Rangers podcast. Cheers, everybody.